with beautiful multicolored, what will be multi-toned leaves circulating slowly in dark water, and we're going to make that water even darker and minimize the reflection of the sky and the far trees with a polarizing filter, which we've just looked through and brought the value of the water way down so that the leaves now are the entire story. This is a scene where, unless Phil corrects me, I can't imagine trying to spot meter this. I wouldn't know where to begin. I'd have to somehow, to find a high value, find something on a floating leaf, and my spot meter just couldn't isolate that, I'm quite sure. The water itself could provide a low value, but the highs are just really tough.
You wouldn't know much about the low value.
Once again, I'm going to cheat a little bit with my white card. The sun, in this case, is up behind a tree, so we have some portions of this scene that are lit up and others that are in moderate shade, which is quite nice. It produces a nice effect, but I think I can find the sun easily enough with my card, which will simulate some of the highs.
Hey, that would be the
yeah, and the card is gone.
position.
All right, and so it's easy enough to find an illuminated position.
It doesn't have to be in front of the camera.
There we go, but
it's in a direction parallel to the camera line of sight.
Okay, and this looks pretty good. Right where we are. I'm trying to keep my hand from reflecting too much on here. We look at the dome to make sure we're in the light. 13.9, 13.9 this time of day seems perfectly reasonable. Shadow reading in this case can also, I think, be done right in my own shadow, quite easily. Once again, since I am tempted for whatever reason to bury the card too deep, I kind of tend to watch it when it's in my shadow.
I think you can just turn around a little bit and take the reading right in your body shadow.
Right here. Right here. And I think that should do it. 10.3. 13.9, 10.3. We've got a 120 lens to get a nice composition. 400 Tmax. Our subject brightness range is very reasonable, so we don't need to worry about any extremes of subject brightness range. We said that low value was 10.3, I believe, and the high was 13. We're going to read it again. That happens. 13.6, I believe we said, but let's do it again. Meter twice, expose once. And I think I want to stop down just maybe one more.
Good idea.
Okay. Because I've got a field of, this thing is focused out over the water, and I've made an adjustment for focus, but I want to be sure about depth of field. That's giving me a half second, which I don't think will be problematic. Things have slowed down out there. 22 and a sixth. Again, trying not to move the camera any more than is necessary.
The ground is a little unsteady.
It's very unsteady here. Okay, we'll keep ourselves very still in the way, and everything out there looks fairly still, so the light's coming up nicely. I think we have it.
How would you meter this normally?
Well, normally I would tend toward incident metering the scene because I can walk into it, for one thing, and secondly, there are a lot of complex shapes and tones out there that I think might be difficult to meter, especially the high end. In the distant background, we have what I think is a fairly easy low value, zone 3. And possibly the very top, well, it's outside my image of this. The high value is just tough.
But even that it's probably too small.
Yeah.
To read accurately with a spot.
Exactly. And I have backlit leaves, which to me anyway have always been kind of a challenge. I wouldn't really know where to place those.
Yeah, their color, that's always a little hard to interpret.
So well,
whichever you're comfortable with.
Well, let's once again, I'm going to use my little card as kind of a cheating device here because we want these leaves to be lit up nicely, but still to have texture, obviously. But the edges of them will light up, have a relatively high value. So I think what I'd like to do is to walk this white card out into the scene a little bit. I know that in the end we're going to cheat the meter up a little bit to bring these values down and to hold them.
Right.
And just have a look at some relative values out there.
Okay.
Phil has reminded me, and I appreciate these reminders, that we have a flat card here and that the meter has a hemispheric dome on it, so it's not an exact replica of what the meter will be seeing, but it can get us close. Looks like it's going to be held if we angle that meter back.
Almost flat.
Almost flat, which if you watch the dome, it's illuminating.
Get it out. There you go.
Yeah. And again, you can watch the line of the light come across that dome. You can see it there about halfway across. So let's take a reading. We have a 14.4 reading.
Okay.
So our next reading is the low value.
In this area, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And once again, we can use the card. Keep an eye on this card and the background, and the card right here is clearly, it's textured black, and the background is lighter, and so we've got the texture in the background right about here that looks about right to me.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to dig any deeper. So the high reading again was 14.4. Please help me remember that, guys. 10.4. So we've got exactly 4 stops and an SBR of about 9 in a backlit situation. All right, so we'll go. Now we've got some backlit areas back there that might be worth cheating up a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. We're in a hurry here because the light's moving on us. We're going to cheat this away
There you go.
to 13.2.
That's better.
All right. And we're standing very much in the shadows under here of the low reading. I think, Phil, it would probably be good.
Well, now what you're talking about are the shadows up there.
Uh-huh.
So the meter should be pointed down toward the camera. If you were up there with the meter, it would be pointed down toward the camera.
Like so.
Right.
All right. The shadows above us are important, so Phil is, we have 9.3. So 13.2, about a 9 SBR feels logical given the high values we have back here,
Right.
and that very bright stripe on the middle.
You want good detail in this stuff up here, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right.
So if we had, as we cheat away from it, it tends to bring it up.
Right.
Okay, so we'll go with this. We don't need to close down much on this lens. I'm going to suggest f20, maybe 16.
Okay.
Go to 22.
Please.
It's going to give us 1.79 seconds. It's going to blur the water, and that's good. How about f32 for 3 seconds?
Okay.
I like blurred water.
Okay.
So we're going to set for time. Time exposure or bulb would have worked at f32. Okay, we're good to go. Make sure we're closed. Yes. And we will use the timer feature. Here we go. 1, 2, open. 3, 2, 0. 1. All right. And these vertical lines are creating a very interesting pattern, light aside, and the light itself is interesting. We're going to have some real challenges holding the texture and the detail in this sheeting, and yet standing here, we can clearly see texture and detail in the very high values. So to hold all of those, to be absolutely sure we're holding them within our subject range here, we're going to take the incident reading looking right at the sun, which is right over our heads here. Take it like so, and we see an EV of 14.1, which is just about, at this time of day, what we would ordinarily get outside. We haven't any real deep shadows. The deepest values we're going to have are going to be in the struts across the top here. And to be sure we capture those, we're going to just reverse the meter and look the other way toward the camera, as far away from the sun as we can get. Now some of these feeder tubes are going to print deep, but I think we'll hold that nicely by having aimed the meter this way. So
in simplest form, what you've done here is take one reading toward the light and one reading away from the light and shoot.
Yes.
I mean, it's not much more complicated than that.
And then nailed down both ends of the range that exists up here in this image, right. So everything is going to be recorded somewhere on our negative. I'm going to shoot this on 100 TMX. That's as far as I can go with this. Let me take a look. F45, and well, actually I can get out a little bit past it. Let's take a look to see if the aperture is still going down. It is. Yeah, Phil, I don't know what that would be, but it's probably, if I space it out about another stop, maybe F64. This is F45. And
yeah, I think that's probably close to 64.
Why don't we give it a go?
Give it a whirl. You can't have too much depth of field.
Not in this one. We'll have a, it's calling for F64 and a half for 1.79 seconds. So I'll just give this just a and let's just make sure our shutter is set for a timed exposure. We are. I'm going to open and close it. We're good. Okay. All right. The countdown will actually be longer than the exposure in this case. So here we go. 1, 2, go. Go. All right. That was about 1.79 seconds. Here it is.